What's up, guys, and welcome back to Heel Report, presented by Tar Heel 24/7. I'm Jacob Turner. He's Andrew Jones. And AJ, we're here to talk about Carolina's defense in today's Daily Drop. In particular, their performances in the win over Charlotte and most recently the win over Richmond, because we've seen some growth from this defense. It's a defense that gave up a ton of points, 542 to be exact, against TCU. And guys, I know it was TCU. I know it's the best team Carolina's played. I know the opponents Carolina's played the last couple weeks. We're going to talk about that all in here. But the main thing we're going to focus on is some of the tangible evidence that we can kind of point out to show that, okay, despite the opponents being lesser, there have been some improvements on the defensive side of the ball. So it's an interesting conversation for a number of different reasons because of that TCU game and because of what we've seen after that. I've got some stats I can throw at you, AJ, before we kind of get into that part. I mean, 9 points in the last two games. It's all that's been given up against lesser competition. But I've been watching Carolina football for a long time, AJ. Very long time. I know you've been watching for a long time as well. I mean, you can just look back to last year with the JMU game. And I know JMU ended up being a pretty good team, and that's a pretty good program over there. But 70 points at home to JMU. We're not seeing anywhere close to that in the last couple weeks against a Charlotte team and a Richmond team. I mean, there's reasons to be feeling pretty good about where this defense might be headed right now, right? Are we being too optimistic right now?
Well, JMU is a G5, but JMU is probably a low-end P5, P4.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
it's a good program.
Yeah. So shouldn't be giving up 70 to them at home. I think on that, but
I'm a big believer that when you play the kinds of games they played the last 2 weeks, you learn more about what you can't do or need to really work on, more than you learn about what you're really good at, because of the opponent can sort of skew it. And I think that's been 100% part of what we've seen. But the positives that I've seen, and I asked Bill this on Saturday, for example, do you think you know your defensive front better now? I think they've got a rotation. I think they know who plays well with each other now. They've figured out the chemistry there. I'm talking, hands in the dirt interior. I think that they really have a good idea of what they are in the back seven now. They're not putting 9 defensive backs in the field in the first 3-4 series like they did against TCU. This has been a preseason, and I think that they have used this preseason to find out the things that work well for them. They have some playmakers. They forced 5 turnovers. 2 of them now have been late and by reserves, but the reserves are playing with a heads up. They're playing with fiber. So they're making those plays, which means it tells me that the practices have been better or have been really good, and that they're kind of taking shape as a culture on that side of the ball. I think all those things are occurring, and we've seen it play out. I think this is the first time since 2011 or 2012 that they went consecutive games not giving up a touchdown. We've seen Mercer come in and score 26, or Campbell score some points, or whoever. Mm-hmm. They went to Old Dominion a couple of years ago, gave up 17. Old Dominion was transitioning at the time. So we've seen that. This has been pretty good. They've got up 470 yards the last 2 games. They had a goal line stand the other day. Mm-hmm. The last 2 weeks, Charlotte and Richmond have been in the red zone 6 times with no touchdowns. Mm-hmm. Okay, again, look at who they were playing. But these are things that you look at and say, past Carolina defenses would have given up. Like that goal line stand.
Oh, no.
They're in. They were in.
Oh, yeah.
Last year's team, voila, baby.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that there are some tangible things we can look at. Are there still concerns defensively? I do think that not being able to get off the field during that stretch where Richmond had the ball for 15 minutes and 20 seconds out of or 16-20, I think it was, out of a span of 17-24. Mm-hmm. Like Carolina got on the field and ran one quick series. They were out. And Richmond ran 26 of 32 offensive plays. So I guess Carolina may have run 6 in that span. So anyway, that to me was a little bit of a red flag. Like, why can't you just make a play and get off the field here? Mm-hmm. I also think they were sort of in that mode where the game seemed kind of easy and they weren't going to lose. So human nature took over and they kind of took
that human nature word. I don't know if we've used that word this year yet.
No. I don't think what's interesting also is that they didn't have a first down their first 3 possessions, but what was the first down and what triggered some movement? a pass interference.
Yeah.
But I don't think that they responded the same way
Mm-hmm.
Saturday to the PI they did against TCU. Everything just kind of spiraled out of control. And TCU's good enough that you can't stop that avalanche. I think that Richmond and Charlotte are the kinds of teams that if there's an avalanche, you can actually go to the bottom of the mountain, just go like this and keep the rocks from crushing anybody.
Yeah.
But TCU can't do that. So we're going to learn a lot. Maybe not against UCF because their offense has not been great.
Mm-hmm.
It's maybe not against Clemson because Cade Klubnik and that offense has not been good. Yeah. But I think when they go to Cal has shown to have a pretty diverse, balanced offense. And I think that will be a pretty significant test here in a few weeks. But right now, if I'm a Carolina fan, I'm not having conversation with other Carolina fans about the defense. My conversations are 1,000,000,000% about the offense. And that means the defense is not enough that, okay, you're not a concern now, you're not our worry now, but you might become one, but right now you're not. And I think if we're going to be fair and judge Gio Lopez through 3 games and be critical, we have to be fair and judge this defense through 3 games and the last 2 in particular because of the most recent games and say, okay, there's some decent stuff there. I don't think 9 points in 2 games is what this group's going to be the rest of the way, but they didn't let an FCS or a very much lower end FBS get into the end zone. So there's something to say about that.
Yeah, it's a positive. It's new territory for Carolina fans to be sitting here like, oh my God, what is this offense? And wow, the defense looks pretty good. I mean, it's kind of a new uncharted territory for a lot of Carolina fans out there. I mean, but you're right. That's the conversation they're having right now. Let me read off some stats. This is going to be since the TCU game, a game in which Carolina gave up 542 total yards. Carolina's defense has allowed 271 yards versus Charlotte, 199 versus Richmond, as you just said a few minutes ago, 470 combined yards and just 9 total points. Looking at the turnover thing, which we always talk about how important turnovers are, forced 5 turnovers in the last 2 games alone, including 3 against Richmond, have 6 in the 3 games this season. Focusing on the Richmond game a little bit more, we could dive into that in those stats. Forced 3 turnovers, leading to 17 points, including a fumble return for a touchdown. Recorded 3 sacks on the day. Coming into this game, AJ, it was a football team that had 1 sack in 120 minutes of football. It's not very good. So 3 sacks, 6 QB hurries against Richmond. And this was in your notes as well that you put together on our website, tallied 32 stops. And what that means is plays resulting in failures for the opposing offense. So
they ran 61 plays.
Yes, that's pretty good. These are all very positive stats. This is contrary to the Gio Lopez podcast we did. We're kind of reading through his stats and we're like, man, there's not a lot of tangible things we can point at and say, man, he's been really good in that. He just needs to improve in these areas. I think you look at the defense and you say, since that TCU game, they have looked good, albeit against lesser competition, albeit against a Charlotte team that's not very good, and albeit against a Richmond team that I think is going to struggle at their level this year. And I don't have them necessarily locked in as a playoff team based on kind of what they've been so far. So you have to take it with a pinch of salt, I think. People still have that TCU taste in their mouth, and rightly so. I think there's factors you can look at. Well, first game, kind of a new-look team. A lot of things didn't go right that night. Is that more of the defense that we see against P4 competition, or is it more of what we've seen against Richmond and Charlotte? That's the question moving forward. And I think that's what I want to talk about next, AJ, is
Jerry's out on that.
With all these stats, with all these things you've talked about, like how much can you really take from these last 2 games? Because there's certainly things that you can take. There's no doubt about it. But I can't sit here and definitively tell you that, man, I think this defense could be really good this year. I like what I've seen over the last 2 games, but until I see it against some of these bigger opponents, starting on Saturday in UCF, and I do agree it's a UCF offense in particular does not look good, but make no mistakes about it. Going into that environment, going into that game, Carolina's defense is going to have to play well to stop UCF from getting out of the end zone. And we've seen a lot of Carolina defenses in the past, and I hate to bring this past stuff up, but it's true, that have helped anemic offenses get going a little bit. So I think Carolina fans are going to be like, just whatever you do, just don't do that on Saturday. Let's keep some of these positive trends up. So how much can you take away from these last 2 games, and what else are you kind of looking to see moving forward as, again, we dive into like the tougher part of the schedule?
Well, first, let me apologize for some of the coughs I got on my steps earlier and haven't really had anything to drink since then. I kind of rushed into this. So some
allergies in the air from what I've heard.
Well, maybe so. Yeah, my wife's been sick, so that might be part. I mean, I'm not
that probably
sick.
Not helping. It's not helping.
But I get my steps. I need to drink like a bottle of water and a bottle of Gatorade Zero or something like that to get my throat right. Anyhow, I don't really know. I think what I like is there's some organization. I think they know who they are. They've thrown stuff out and they sort of narrowed it down to who they want to be and who are their guys. Like they have a pecking order pretty much everywhere now. And the communication's been better. We talked to Mekhi Bayer after the game on Saturday, and he was asked about the last 2 weeks. He said, look, our communication was awful against TCU, and it got really bad when things just sort of spiraled out of control and it didn't even exist. He said it's been a lot better since, and it was significantly better on Saturday against Richmond. And Bill Belichick said that Richmond threw some different stuff at them. They ran sets they hadn't seen, some formations. They used their tight ends a little differently than they had seen, and the players were able to adapt and adjust on their own. Again, it's Richmond's personnel, but Belichick will tell you football starts up here, big time. You got to be smart in pre-snap. You have to recognize a 5-star linebacker who doesn't read well in pre-snap and doesn't communicate well is not going to be as good as a 3-star linebacker who's outstanding in pre-snap, reads well, and communicates well. He's going to make some plays sometimes because he's going to make some plays, but the aggregate's going to go to the guy who is really good in pre-snap. So I think that they were better in pre-snap in this game. They adjusted to things that they didn't prepare for. And those are one of the reasons why these games are very, very important. And it's also why we could call these preseason games, because I think that's what they were looking to get out of it. It was pretty clear that Richmond wasn't going to beat them. So how do you use 130 snaps? How are you going to get the most out of those 130 snaps both sides of the ball? One thing they did was they played a lot of guys. So a lot of guys got snaps late, which helps. Another thing is I think that they were able to get into some serious base stuff and see how many battles they could win and if they could create some havoc by winning those individual battles, and we saw that as well. Melkart Abu Jade, I've heard it pronounced.
I think that's it. That's close. That's
137 times. Yes, and even in the press box, it was like 6 different times Saturday. Look, he recovered a fumble, two sacks. You know, the interior guys they got their job done better. The edge guys kept putting theirs back a little bit more. I see little things falling into place defensively. Now we're going to find out whether it is fool's gold or not here coming up. But I do like the organization. And again, one of our questions the week before the season started and for a week or two afterward was how well you know your team. Like I asked about the defensive front the other day. When does the eval process end? They're 3 games in. I think the eval process will continue a little bit more because they have better competition to play, and it will sort of go on forever. But I think the bulk of it, especially on that side of the ball, has been done. I think they have an idea of what they are, like what they can be, and what the tools are that they're going to use to try to be that.
Yeah, I think you're right. One of the keywords to me that kind of springs to mind in the last couple of games, it feels like a defense that is in more control of games the last couple of weeks. It feels like a defense who is kind of controlling things more so than just reacting to things. And again, Carolina fans know exactly what I'm talking about with some of the defenses you've seen under the years. That's one of the biggest positives I can point at them. And you mentioned the pre-snap communication. You mentioned these little things that Belichick talks about when it comes to the mental side of football. And if you can't do that against the Charlottes and the Richmonds of the world, it's not rocket science, guys. You're not going to do it against better teams. So it all has to start. It all has to start somewhere. So all these things are positives, but we still have to see what this leads into and what this group really is because of the competition the last couple of weeks.
Being really good in pre-snap should be consistent, but I get what you're saying because you could be really good in pre-snap and then get whipped, and then you don't trust the pre-snap as much. You don't trust the game plan during the week as much. So if you're making plays and you're all in on the game plan, and the game plan serves as momentum then for you. Like the defense, I don't like the term. It's trite. We hear it way too often in football, but the defense sort of starts to play downhill a little bit. And they put the offense on the heels. You saw that at times. I think they could have gotten 30 sacks yesterday if they wanted to on Saturday. Of course, I'm being facetious, but you get my point. They didn't. So they try to be really, really good in base. They try to win their battles, strike blocks and all that kind of stuff, read some things, and they got 3 turnovers out of it. They set the offense up nicely. Bear returned a fumble 62 yards for a touchdown. So I like what I've seen as far as them understanding what they have, and this is what we need to try to be moving forward, because the offense right now doesn't look like it's going to win them a whole lot of games. The defense is going to have to be really, really good. and they were really good. All things considered on Saturday. Look, the last 2 games, 6 trips to the red zone, no touchdowns. I don't care who you're playing. That's good. Absolutely. These other teams give scholarships too. You look at NFL rosters, there's dudes from programs like that in the NFL. So I think Carolina fans should be cautiously optimistic that the defense has a lot of its stuff in order. I don't think you should be cautiously optimistic about the offense. You have to be more in a wait and see mode, and it may take a while.
Yeah. And I think in Carolina fans, I think most Carolina fans out there, despite the last couple of weeks, because they've been burnt so many times on the defense, are like very cautiously optimistic right now. But the signs are there, and you have to point to that because we've seen, as you mentioned earlier, teams, Carolina defenses in the past that have played lesser opponents and not dominated on that side of the ball as much as Carolina has the past couple of weeks. So that is the biggest positive, but by no means are me and AJ sitting here like, oh, this defense is the real deal, man. Like, wait till you see what they do against UCF, man. Like, just shut them out.
96 and 97. I don't see Simmons and Bly and all those guys out there.
You don't see, you're not getting flashbacks to 97 in the press box yesterday or anything like that. Like, man, this thing's a real deal.
I guess if you would have make believe that Richmond was, that team was down 20-3 in the second quarter of UVA and beat them 45-20. UVA was like a number 6 team in the country or something like that. Mm-hmm. That was the year after the Bloom game, the first game I ever covered. So that team, man, they could onslaught you, and it was both sides of the ball. That was the epitome of complimentary football. Right now, the defense has done its part, but the offense hasn't done its part as far as complimentary football, at least the last 2 weeks. Yeah, that's why I love this stuff, Jacob, because we don't know. I love the element of surprise. I want to report the element of surprise. I love coming out here and saying, here's what I think might happen. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Being wrong is fun because that's the element of surprise. If you're right all the time, it's not as fun unless you're gambling. You're making cash.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And by the way, I've never been a gambling line guy, really, except way, way back in the day before I got in the media. But we do some stuff with numbers now just because people want it. There's a lot more people betting on games now than before, so we'll have some of that stuff on there. So I looked. 6.5 point dogs.
Yeah.
Excuse me. 6.5 point dogs. Pardon my faux pas there. My bad.
So you're still learning you're new to the betting game and you're learning the terminology.
Yeah. Well, see, back in the old days,
back in my day,
before I became a sports writer with the fellas, we would put 50 on every game on the board.
Oh, that's big money, man. I'm putting like $5 on it if I'm betting on stuff.
You got Fresno State kicking off at Hawaii at 11:59, baby. We got till 3 a.m.
Just stressed to the max at 2:30 a.m. in the morning watching Hawaii play. Yeah, that's about right. Damn,
rainbows are screwing me.
Like, come on, guys. I love it. That's fantastic. Yeah, but again, that's just different kind of content we're trying to bring you guys and different, things we're trying to do over here. And I love it, man. I'm proud of you for looking at the
and the Heels have beaten the spread the last 2 weeks. I never would have known that, but I'm looking at it now again because it's important to our readers. And Absolutely. I'm in my 30th year doing this, and I'm changing and adapting.
Yeah,
because you have to change and adapt, and it's kind of fun. So I'm not going to wager anything because I don't bet, and I don't think anybody in sports media should ever bet at all. When I got in sports media, I'm like, okay, not doing that anymore. Mm-hmm. But I do think it's kind of fun, and our fans our readers like it. So cool for them. If we can
give the people what they want.
If we can provide that for you and you stay around with us, then I'm all for it. Because it doesn't take a whole lot of time to do that and write it up.
Absolutely not. Like I said, I love that type of stuff, man. And the people want it, and we might as well give it to them. So I want to hear from people in the comments. We always do. I know I say that a lot at the end. It's kind of a no-brainer. We always want to hear from you guys in the comments, but especially about the defense right now, because I do feel like there's a lot of Carolina fans out there that are, based on what I've seen on our boards and on social media so far, still kind of cautiously optimistic, but also pleased with the response they've seen from the defense over the last 2 weeks. Because again, you start out a bad like TCU, you kind of get embarrassed on national television. That can snowball into things. That can lead to confidence issues and things like that. We're not going to know what this defense is really made of till they start playing some better teams. But at the end of the day, there are positive signs. There's statistical facts that you can look at and say they are improving and playing well in these areas. But let's see how it carries over starting on Saturday night.
The organization, the eyes see the organization, and the organization says a lot.
Exactly. Yeah, the organization's been good. And like I said, it feels like a defense last couple of games. It's been in control. And you got to start somewhere, and that's what you want to see against some of these lesser opponents. You need to control those games. And the fact that you've seen that is a positive moving forward. So I think we can wrap this one up. I know you and David are going to do a little basketball.
Go do a basketball recruiting podcast here in a minute. In fact, I'm getting ready to text him and say, give me 10 minutes because I have to go drink something.
I like it. Yeah, get you some water in there so you're ready to roll. Yeah, we'll let you go so you can hop on there with David. Looking forward to hearing that. If you want to see when that comes out, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. Hit that notification bell. Make sure you also head on over to our social media channels, links below, and also head on over to our website for all the post-game coverage from Richmond and everything you need to know Carolina football, basketball, and recruiting-wise. You'll be in Orlando. I know Noah's going to be in Orlando as well. So
Kevin Roy, we actually have
nice.
We have 4 credentials for Orlando.
Sweet.
2 on the field, 2 in the press box.
That's fantastic. That's absolutely what I want to hear right there. So that's great. We got a really good squad going down to Orlando. And like I've said, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens on Saturday afternoon. So I've been Jacob Turner. He's been Andrew Jones. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell too. We'll see y'all next time. Thanks.